Communication. And so just to give everyone a little background about this, with us tonight is David Stairs, who's the Director of Patriot Emergency Communication, and Billy Farrell, our Fire Chief. And there is a plan in place to move the 911 dispatch center, which is currently in Groton, to Pepperell. Pepperell ran Dunstable's fire dispatch for a number of years. And there were a number of issues with it that caused us to consolidate and go to Groton. I don't know how many years ago that was. It was a number of years ago. One of the breaches of that is when you called 911, Groton answered that call, and if it was a fire, they had to call over to Pepperell to dispatch the fire department. And so that wasn't the best for us. So we moved our dispatch center over to Groton. Groton has expressed a desire to get out of the dispatch business for a number of reasons. And along with that, in parallel with that, is Pepperell's creation of Patriot Emergency Communication Center. I met with Pepperell this morning, David. You know, I'm going to tell you, quite frankly, it's a great opportunity for us. In addition to the cash that it's going to save us, it brings us people, process, and technology that we're not even close to right now. And so it's you know, believe me, this is a good thing for the town for all our reasons, including the dollars of it. And I don't know, David, would you like to just add to any of that? If
no, I think you gave the sort of like the Cliff Notes version of it, but to your point, number one, I would say to this group, the biggest thing for me, and we've stressed this at our rec, and I've talked to the chiefs about this, in Dunstable and Groton, is customer service is number one, okay? So cost savings is wonderful, and Dunstable will see cost savings here. But number one, first and foremost, is customer service and better service. And how do we, I can sit here and say it, but how do we get to that? Number one being more dispatchers to be able to handle more calls effectively, okay? So right now, Groton has a combination of either two people on, sometimes one. If it gets busy and there's multiple calls or there's a serious call like a structure fire, the ability for one or two dispatchers to handle that becomes difficult. So more people, we have at a minimum on 3 at a time, probably 4 during the day. So a model of 4 during the day, 3 on the evening, and 3 on the overnight. And then a career path dispatch center with supervision. And what I mean by that is we have a civilian run dispatch center that is not in the chain of command of Groton's police department. So we have the ability to be sort of, you know, down the middle in terms of our agencies that we support. For instance, Ashby, Townsend, and Pepperell pay different fees to be dispatched by Patriot, yet they all have an even vote. So Dunstable, for instance, if Dunstable's paying $100,000 to Patriot and Pepperell's paying $350,000, Dunstable has 3 seats at the board just like Pepperell does. So it's even and above board. Like I said, we have supervision. We'll have a supervisor on each shift, sort of like a sergeant or a lieutenant, to supervise the shift. And it's a career path for dispatchers that want to do this for a living. Years ago, when I started 26, 27 years ago, dispatch was sort of a stepping stone, if you will, to get into police. It's sort of a little bit still is, but we try to create a rec where if you enjoy dispatching, you can come in and you can be a dispatcher someday, you can be a supervisor, deputy director, director. So there's a career path for them there. Early on, we found that it was very important for us we were lacking some on the fire side. We were really good at doing police dispatch, but we were lacking on the fire side. And it was very important for us to bring that up through training and hard work and working with the chiefs. And, you know, we're constantly going to trainings. Just last week, 4 of my dispatchers attended a Massachusetts Fire Academy Mayday training where they learned about what firefighters do. God forbid if there was ever a situation where a firefighter was in trouble at a structure fire or whatever, we had to declare a Mayday. So they learned what those guys are doing on the ground and it's gonna help them be more effective in their ability to be able to dispatch and know what those guys and gals are going through on the scene. Yeah, I can talk for hours, but we've established a nice little rec. I'm very proud of it, and we would love for Dunstable to come on board.
Just out of curiosity, what's Groton gonna do?
So, as I understand it, Groton has, they actually initiated the conversation, initially. They had a meeting, the select board last night, and Groton had a meeting. David was at that meeting as well, gave an overview. They did not vote on it last night, but they are gonna have a follow-up meeting. I guess that there were some questions that they wanted additional information on, so they're coming back. I don't know if it'll be the next meeting or the meeting after that, but at some point they're coming back to consider it fully. We had a meeting, I don't know, was it a couple weeks ago with the town administrators and town managers of the member communities, and also with Mark Cadet from Groton and myself. And I mean, having met with David now, I don't know, 3 times now today at that meeting, had multiple conversations with him. There's no question that the dispatch center, and you saw it today, it's just a very professional, well-run operation in Pepperell at the Patriot Dispatch Center. Just to run through a few things real briefly, and you have like a bulleted list that I put together just to give you the high-level description, but as David said, it's overseen by board of directors. Well, if we were to join, we'll have three members, just like every other community. It's not a weighted representation on the board, like, for instance, the school committee is. So we all have the same, representation on the board, which I think is a good thing. In order for us to move in, all select boards have to vote in the affirmative. Their board has already voted to support both Groton and Dunstable. Moving in, if I get anything wrong, David, just interrupt me, please. Right now, there's 10 employees at the Patriot Dispatch. At the Groton Dispatch, there are 5, 6?
5.5.
5.5?
Yeah.
So the idea would be, and importantly, they have a lot of institutional knowledge about both Dunstable and Groton. So the idea is to not lose that in the transition. So hopefully those staff members in Groton will simply move over to Patriot and continue to serve our communities and also bring in that institutional knowledge, which will certainly help with the transition and also training up, I would say, just sharing that information with existing personnel at Patriot. So I think the level of service is very, very high. And after talking to the town managers, town administrators, and the 3 member communities right now, Townsend, Pepperell, Ashby, there was no question that they were very, very satisfied with that. Just real quick financially, right now for FY25, we're scheduled to pay about $93,000 to Groton. Estimate here is 98, so it's a little higher, but a benefit of regionalizing with Patriot is that the state wants this to happen, and they want it so badly to happen that they're incentivizing communities to do it. So, so the first 3 years if we were to elect to join, the first 3 years, we'd actually be members at 0 cost. So we would save the first 3 years cost. 4th year, we'd have to pay 50% of the overall cost. In the 5th year, we'd have to pay 75%. They'd cover 25% of the cost. So over that 5-year time period, there's certainly a financial incentive, financial benefit for the town.
Is the cost capped at like the $98,000 a year, or is it swing based on call volume or population size?
It's whatever the budget that I agree. So if it, for instance, Groton's portion of this is roughly 330,000, they're gonna pay that for them as well.
Okay,
So if your assessment was 500,000, they would pay that.
How is the percentage? I think the
Yeah, how's
question
that?
is-
Oh, sorry.
yeah, how's that number determined?
Sure, it's based on population strictly.
Okay,
So I take the total population of all the communities and divide the town's population into that and come up with a percentage.
okay,
And then your percentage is that number.
Exactly.
It's not call volume and population, it's just strictly call volume. It's difficult to quantify the whole call volume versus population thing, because some
Yeah.
agencies log everything.
Right.
And some don't. So it's just strictly population based.
okay.
And it's, I think our estimate right now is about a little under nine, just shy of 9%. It's like 8.7%, I think.
Okay,
So that's our kind of, that would be our obligation.
Yeah.
To the overall cost. One other benefit I just wanted to add was they also have in-house IT, and they're planning, if this were to happen, they're planning on bringing an additional IT staff member on board, which would serve public safety departments in each member community. So that would bring a level of expertise that we certainly don't have. I mean, we have a contractor right now who serves us very well, but it would bring in-house expertise that we don't have right now, and potentially could help us save on the contract side.
Sure.
So that's just like an added benefit that if this were to move forward, we could benefit from as well.
holistically, you're looking farther down the road, like year 6, we've got to essentially earmark ballpark about 100K in our budget.
Yes.
That we know we're gonna pay Patriot Regional Communication Center.
Exactly.
So in a perfect world, we keep the 100,000 in the budget and use it to continue to support our public safety departments
Right.
in other ways, because we know we have needs in both of those departments.
That's right.
And responsibly, we should use it for one time, because if we bake it into operations, we know that
Not
6th year is coming.
Yeah,
So, for one-time investments in capital related to communications, I know that there are needs there that we could use it for. And then we know that there are other facility, equipment, et cetera, needs that we have as well.
Just if I could elaborate on that, we can give you an example of that, where this was successful. The town of Ashby was our first member community that came into Patriot, and then year 3 was Townsend. Ashby, their radio network was in shambles. It was really bad. We had this discussion with their select board at a meeting, and we advocated to keep that money that they would then be paying in year 5 to Patriot in their budget for 2 reasons. Number one, you don't have to come up with that 100,000, 150, whatever it is in year 6. And number 2, you invest that back into the needs of public safety directly to take care of those issues. And you're not going to the town and asking the town for additional monies to do that. You're taking care of 2 needs in one shot. Also, being part of a rec, you are open to and have the ability to apply for something called a development grant. That development grant pays for not only what we're talking about today with your assessment, but it also pays for equipment, the regional dispatch sites and the supporting communities. So that 100,000 and the grant, we could upgrade a lot of the network issues here that we have, for the radios, mobile radios. I will tell you an early look at your network. The police are okay, fire is really need the money. They need a lot.
is that true? Just so you know, I figured.
The chief and I have already had some preliminary discussions on some really small things that we can put in place today to help him out a lot. We had this discussion this morning and, so the way I do my grant cycle is I ask the chiefs in all the communities, what do you need? Okay, and we have a discussion in one of our board of directors meetings, and then we create a priority list. And then I start my grant with that priority list. A lot of times you'll get the number 1 and 2 priority items, especially if it makes sense for the entire region. So those are discussions that we have. It's not done behind closed doors, it's done above board throughout the whole, district. And these are, again, these are benefits where coming in, I think that we could do a lot, especially for Chief Farrell on his side, because he needs a lot of help. Not him personally, but his radios, pagers, he doesn't have station alerting, you know, he needs a lot. So this is a way to target that and get going and to help.
How about cell phone coverage? Do you have any swing there?
I can't help you with that.
You gotta know somebody, right? Yeah. No, it sounds like a pretty solid plan, I guess, in the right direction, especially financially. It's 100K we didn't have before. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, well, I mean, every dollar for us
Yeah.
is a lot, but this change doesn't just bring cost savings, it brings the aspect of technology into place, is what I really got out of this today. I mean, it's just.
Innovation.
Yeah, I mean, we're not there with that, and Groton is pretty much just, you know, cha-ching, in and out, there's no advancement, and it's just, the move is good, it strengthens their alliance. Probably Groton, right now, the issue that we have that's not solved is we do have an IMA between Dunstable and Groton for dispatch services. So that's gonna get worked out, and then these guys have some technology issues to make that transition happen. So if we were to put all this together, it would probably start July 1st, because that gives them some runway space to get all the stuff worked out, so.
It also aligns with, obviously, everyone's, you know, budgets,
Bill
cycle
cycle,
and
yeah.
grants and everything else, so it really would have to happen by July 1st, or then we would have to target the next July 1st, because it gets tricky with the state 911 grants.
Sure.
And I neither one of us touched on this either, and I think, Ron, you were going in that direction. The state 911 is very excited about this. This is exactly what they want to do. They want to get away from these 1 and 2 town wrecks
Mhm.
and get towards the bigger model. They want to invest their money better, if you will. I had a meeting with the state 911 department 3 weeks ago. He came over to Pepperell. I told him what was going on, and they were extremely excited about this, because this is exactly what they are doing at the state level, and they incentivize you with these things. Your assessment being paid for through the grant, if you came over, you wouldn't have got that normally. It
Mhm.
usually goes to the dispatch center that's closing its doors, if you will. So that would have been Groton's. Groton would have got it, and Dunstable wouldn't have, if we followed the grant exactly how it's written. I said to them, it's only fair if we take care of Dunstable as well, and it's only gonna help to make this happen if we can do that.
Sure.
They went back and talked to Frank Bosniak, the state 911 director, and Frank said, absolutely. We should be taking, it's only fair to take care of Dunstable as well.
And just one last thing, I just wanted to make sure we understood. So because of the agreement we have in place with Groton, it really is, so whatever the board decides, if the board decides to join, it would be contingent upon the town of Groton joining as well.
Oh, they would have to join as well?
They would have to join, and if, as I understand it, if we have we have a current agreement with them,
Yeah.
so I don't, you know, but if it were to expire and we decided, you know what, we're gonna go, we wanna go to Patriot, that grant money that we're talking about, the incentive money, because we're not the host of the rec, if we were to decide to move, we would not get that incentive. So we would have to pay first year if we were to move, basically, is what I'm saying. But under this, if it works out and Groton makes the decision to move, we go along with them. It's a pretty good situation, I think.
Well, yeah, I don't have any more questions, but I'm happy to read the motion.
Yeah,
I think it
absolutely.
seems like the right
Yeah, no, I
idea.
agree.
It does, absolutely does, yeah, all the way around. Yeah. Harold?
I watched the Groton Selectmen's meeting last night. The town manager, I think, is excited about it, as Jason it seems to be. However, I got the impression at least one and maybe two of the selectmen in Groton were kind of lukewarm to the whole idea.
I wouldn't say you're wrong, sir. I think you're probably right, and I think that they need more information, is really what it comes down to.
And
We
would,
don't have enough information
would
yet.
Patriot still be interested in us if,
Absolutely. That,
if Groton decided not to?
absolutely. What Jason said though, is the only issue here. The state 911 department paying for your assessment to Patriot would not happen unless Groton comes with you. So yes, we would be happy to have you, but you would have to pay the full 98,000, whatever it is, like you're doing today to Groton. There's no financial incentive unless Groton comes with you.
And the assessment would likely be slightly more without Groton, probably.
Percentage changes based on population.
And in the past, I know through the grants, there was some laptops bought for the cruisers and equipment for the fire department. Is that what you're talking, or is it all going to the dispatch?
No, that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. When I meet with the chiefs to ask them what they need, that would absolutely be on the table. We would buy Dunstable. You know, I can't say what, I can't guarantee.
I understand, but if there was a need for laptops and there was grant money, that is actually able to work something out.
That is
I
absolutely.
think that's gonna be the biggest thing for us, because right now, if we need something, we gotta go to Groton and convince them to give us a portion of what they're getting. And because, you know, they're gonna obviously take care of themselves before they take care of us. This is gonna allow us to have much more of a seat at the table to get what we, you know, need. There's gonna be a lot more communication, and they can kind of foresee what we need in the future and come up with a plan for it now, rather than like what happened last year when the radio system failed on us and we had to get the water tower up and running. We were kind of running out of the seat of our pants at the time. That stuff like that, we're gonna be able to take care of, you know, we should be able to plan for ahead of time going with these guys.
It's also buying power, right? Like a larger group could do more
Yeah.
with a larger
It's
budget
gonna
and
open
things like
up
that.
much more opportunity for money coming in, and free money coming in for stuff that we need.
Joni?
So it sounds like, our fire chief is on board here. How about, our police chief?
I chatted with him about it and he was in favor of the idea, and they said it's cost savings and it's an improved customer service experience for those that call and need assistance. So, you know, we did have some worry about, you know, the legacy knowledge, you know, or village knowledge, if you will, that those 5 to 6 employees from the Groton Center would bring over. But the hope, as Dave said and Chief Farrell said, the hope is that those folks will embark on working in Pepperell at the regional center there to bring over that knowledge. So that was his only question, was what about X person, and are they going to continue on? So can't force them to, you know, some people may say this is my opportunity to set sail and go in a different direction, but
And I had a great meeting with their dispatch team, by the way, with 5 of them.
yeah.
And it went well. They seemed very receptive to coming over to Patriot. And so, unless, like you said, one of them has a better opportunity and sales set ship somewhere else, but,
So be it.
they seem very receptive to coming to Patriot.
And there's an enhancement, right, that we're going to put Dunstable Police on its own frequency.
I would love to do that.
Yeah,
I think
currently it's
I think
not that.
I think it's silly that we have Dunstable PD and Groton PD on the same frequency. If the network goes down, you're taking out 2 police agencies in one. They should be divided. You should have your own radio frequency and equipment, and Dunstable should have their own. Fire departments are separate. Police, for some reason, is on the same network, and we need to work towards getting that fixed, if you will.
There's a lot of big safety improvements I think we're gonna get from this that we don't currently have. Like he said, all their guys have Mayday training. I think it's just gonna be a better service all around. I wouldn't say we don't have it over there, but it's gonna be much more enhanced if we make the move over here for the people, us that are using the radios, the people that are calling 911, everything, really.
Yeah, it's a win all the way around. So the dispatch center is nothing like it was years ago. It's supercharged, realistically it is. And they were watching the weather this morning for weather events, and it's just,
I think you have a question over there, sir.
Anyway.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have 2 questions. One, will it affect the response time in any way? And does this include EMS? And 2, if we have a large population in extension, like 300 or 400, 500 people, how much will that cost to raise our per year cost?
So that last question first, it would raise it's based on population. So if your population goes up by 500, which I doubt the Dunstable population is gonna go up that much in a year or 2, it would raise your assessment to match that. So if Pepperell's went down and Groton's went up, Pepperell's assessment would go down and Dunstable's would go up to meet that. I can't give you I don't know if it's $1,000 per person, I don't have that number,
Will
but
we be able to
it's,
get that number?
what's that?
Would we be able to obtain that number?
I don't know if it's an actual, like.
It's a year snapshot, so like as of July 1, or probably June 1st of every year, they're gonna say, out of 10,000 people, Dunstable has, 1,000, so they're responsible for 10%, in year 2024. In 2025, if you went from 1,000 to 1,200, then your responsibility would shift up if the pool only increased by the 250 shift, so it's a percentage point along the way. You can't estimate it until you actually do the census, if you will.
It's difficult because all 5 towns, if there was 5, would fluctuate every year.
Yeah.
So the 3 current towns in Patriot, Pepperell, Ashby, and Townsend, population numbers go up and down in each town every year, so it's new, but it's all within $1,000 or $2, not a big jump. We're not talking about, 150,000 next year or something, we're not talking about that. Your other question was EMS.
Response time for EMS?
Doesn't change because they're still responding from in town or wherever they're responding from. The only change that's taking place is where they're dispatched from. So all of those volunteers are still Dunstable, Caldwell, firefighter EMTs, out of Dunstable and Trinity and wherever else they're coming from. That doesn't change. Matter of fact, what tends to happen with these relationships, and I've seen it with Pepperell, Ashby, and Townsend, is organically, you just tend to work together more because your dispatch center is the same, we all have the same dispatch center. So, mutually, we rely on each other a lot more in those towns than we would in Dunstable and Groton as well. When this happens, just because it's easier for us and it's quicker for us to dispatch our partners that we work with, rather than calling someone on the phone somewhere.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else? Do we have a motion?
Sure. I move to approve the town of Dunstable to join the Patriot Regional Emergency Communication Center and authorize the chair to sign the intermunicipal agreement on behalf of the Board of Selectmen. Select Board, right?
Yeah.
Not yet. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen, provided that the town of Groton also elects to join the Patriot Regional Emergency Communication Center.
Second.
Second, so can we discuss?
Yeah.
So this motion is only if Groton goes in.
That's
What
contingent
if
upon.
Groton doesn't go in? Will we revisit this
You
for us
have
to go in, or do we?
Yeah, you would need to revisit this
Okay.
because there's a cost associated with it.
Okay.
And there's also a legal issue with the dissolution of the IMA that's currently in place for dispatch services. So this kind of qualifies that. It
Okay,
says,
so-
we got some work to do here if Groton does not join it.
Then we will revisit this.
Yeah.
And there's a significant financial impact. There would be a significant financial impact to the town of Groton if we were to leave, because they get the regional incentive grant right now to help fund their dispatch center. And so if we were to leave, that state assistance they get now goes away. And so it would significantly impact their ability to run the dispatch center in Groton if we were to decide to leave.
But they also could be eligible, like Dave said, for 300K plus in savings for the first couple of years, right?
They get
So like,
more.
Well,
If they were to move,
Yeah, if they were
but
to
if
join.
they decide not to move, is my
Yeah,
point.
the cost goes up because we're out.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's about right.
And I think that you're gonna see a decision one way or another, beginning to middle of December.
Yeah.
From Groton.
Okay.
Because that, but Mark Adab, the town administrator, he didn't put a deadline on them, but he said, we need to prepare for the budget cycle, and I need to know which direction we're going in, so
Right.
in December, we need to, are we in or are we out? So I think we're gonna have an answer very soon from them.
Okay, good, thanks.
Motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
All right, moving along, we're actually
wanna
taking
go,
some,
sure.
we have a copy of our agenda, we're actually jumping around here a little bit in the interest of time consolidation. Next is going to be the appointment to Affordable Housing Trust Board of Trustees, and the appointee is Kelly Escalada. Escalada.
I don't have a lot of questions for Kelly. I met her a couple of days ago. So I'm happy to make a motion, and I love a volunteer, so that's the battle these days. But unless you guys have questions for me.
No?
I'll make a motion to appoint to the Affordable Housing Trust Board, Kelly Escalada.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
Meeting the 27th.
All right.
All
Can I just ask what her background is?
Sure.
This has to get to know you, so that's,
Yeah.
I don't have a specific housing background, that's just been something that's been kind of an interest of mine for a while.
Okay.
But my career background is in scientific research. So I think I bring, desire for data-driven solutions.
And just, how long have you been in town?
I moved here in 2020, so not a long time.
Okay.
But we've very much tried to integrate into the community and love it here, and I want to do what I can to help the town.
I have a question. Does that now fill out the board? Does that mean there are 5 people now?
I believe it does for our board, yeah, which is good. So,
Good.
Okay, do we want to, do 7 first?
Sure.
Jason? So we're gonna take item number 7 next, which is, building envelope study and design proposal for the fire station, which, if you want to walk us through that, because it'll make it easier, because you've worked with that.
there's one more vacancy on that board. Sue
Oh,
knows.
okay. Okay, so, as I think we all know, the fire station, the condition of the fire station is not where we want it to be.
Not optimum.
Is not optimum, to say the least. And
It's
so
all in the park.
it sort of is kind of falling apart, yeah. And so, we reached out to an architect who actually used to live in Dunstable, who served on the planning board before, has some knowledge of the town, to come and look at the building and to offer a proposal to both help us determine a short-term solution to the building, because there are real concerns with getting through the winter safely, and then a longer-term plan to make improvements. So, so he visited the site in early November and walked the building with the fire chief. And based on that, following that, unfortunately, I couldn't make that hour conflict, but I talked to him about the visit, following his meeting with the chief. And, as a result of the visit and our conversation, he put together this proposal, which puts together an initial, recommendation to essentially brace one of the walls to make it safe, or safer than it is today. And then it also, longer term, he's given us a price to put together construction documents for bidding for the long term, in the case we want to do that. So that's where we're at. I think from a short-term perspective, we don't have a choice, so I think we really need to do that. Long-term, I think it's probably a good idea to know exactly what the situation is, what the approach long-term would be if we were to invest money into that building. I think only with that, we'll be able to make an informed decision, kind of long-term moving forward. So that's at least the idea here, and have documents in our hands that we can bid. I've talked to him about giving us an ability to phase that work, because from a cost perspective, I think that's, budget-wise, that's probably how we're gonna have to end up approaching it. So we talked about, from a long-term perspective, giving us the project in phases to the extent that makes sense and to the extent that's possible. So, so that's what you have in front of you, and if you approve it, we'll get moving on it and move on.
So this one little paragraph, I think, sort of sums up the general issue, if I can just read it quickly.
Yeah.
When they did just an initial site visit, we observed evidence of out-of-plane movement of the CMU exterior bearing wall above the attic floor level and on the south elevation of the building. In addition, we observed considerable deterioration of the CMU in mortar at the exterior wall on the north elevation. We observed cracks in the CMU exterior walls and rotted wood on all elevations of the building.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, during our conversation, he said that now that you know the condition of the building, you
Gotta take action.
You gotta do something.
Yeah.
So this is a step towards that process to
Right.
figure out whether there's an interim step here or not. And so do we have a motion?
Can I just
Yeah.
say one thing? So the cost total is 14,800, not 11,800. That says 11,800, should be 14. And just so you're aware, I know you know this, but I just wanted to mention it. So we did receive, I think it was in 23, before I was here, we received a $50,000 earmark from the state, funded through ARPA funds that were earmarked for public safety improvements. That's the purpose of the funds that we received. So that $50,000 can be used for public safety improvements. The idea is to fund this with that $50,000 earmark.
Okay,
So we have the money to do it.
So we have the money in place, not.
to investigate, who knows how,
To investigate.
yeah, who knows how
Yeah.
I'm
expensive
Doing the work
hoping,
is to-
repairs could be.
hoping that the $50,000 will be sufficient to do this work and also to make the temporary repairs.
Okay,
It certainly won't be enough long term.
yeah.
Um,
I'm happy to read, yeah. I move to approve the proposal for services from,
You talked about bracing the wall, is that gonna limit trucks being able to come out on that side of the
It
building?
may very well be the case, because that's, and you know that, we've had this discussion before, yeah. It absolutely could, Harold, yeah,
We
it
think,
absolutely could.
No, just,
we think it will.
it's,
We think it will.
it's gonna really,
But this is both walls. It's the wall that faces West Auto, and it's also the wall that faces the house next door that, and those are not concrete blocks, those are cinders. And they're, from the spinning salt on that over the years, that wall, you can put your hand through it and reach inside the building. So,
I know it's in-
yeah, I don't know how this is gonna shake out.
this is the lesser of two evils, bracing is,
Yeah.
right? Building collapse or bracing?
No, I fully understand. I'm
Yeah,
thinking about, we got two trucks parked in the back, and if we're limiting, we don't wanna have to go up through the schoolyard to get a fire truck out, in and out.
So, yeah, it's a temporary solution to figure out the next step.
Did you have somebody that you're thinking of having do this, or are you gonna put it as a bid out?
no, it would, so this proposal is to evaluate the conditions, make a recommendation, and then draft a proposal, a technical proposal that can go as an RFP document, so we can solicit pricing on the temporary repairs. This is strictly an engineering exercise at this point that we're funding with.
Okay, and that's 14,000, is that what you're saying? I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, a total of $14,800.
Just a temporary.
No.
Just-
So those
just
lines-
study.
Just engineering.
Oh, just engineering, not engineering.
No work, it's just engineering, yeah.
I move to approve the,
Whoops, sorry, Mrs. Simmons?
Is this Josh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
He's a good guy.
okay, Karen.
I move to approve the proposal for services from BRS Building Recon Services for a building envelope condition study and design services for the Dunstable Fire Station in the amount of $14,800 and authorize the chair to sign the proposal on behalf of the board.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Actually, could we have that grant though,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like, we don't
Oh,
really
yeah.
have 15K kicking around.
No.
Now we have 35, so.
All right, next up is going to be, we're gonna take item 6 right now, and then we'll go back in sequence for item 9 and 10. So item 6 is the LIP proposal, for 41 Lowell Street from the Brattle Development Group, and this is a discussion. Do we have someone here from Brattle that's gonna speak on Brattle's behalf? Mr. Tully? You may have the floor, sir.
We just submitted our responses to the questions asked of us, and looking for your opinion on the answers.
Do you want to walk through the questions? I know some of them are repetitive. There's a lot of them, but Mr. Chairman, which way would you like to?
Yeah, I mean, these, I don't have a color-coded copy of this, so I'm gonna be at disadvantage, and
There's nothing color-coded except the first page.
and then the only issue that we're gonna have is that most of the people who are here don't have the advantage of having this document in front of them.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you
Is
may.
that available online?
Is this posted yet?
It is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
When was it posted?
4 o'clock today?
Oh, today.
Yeah, today.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty, Karen, do you want us to read through this? Is that what there's a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've read them a couple times and I've heard from some people in town in regards to the questions and such. So I sort of saw tonight as, we could evaluate the questions as a group and hear from our visitors that are here tonight to ask questions of us if we're prepared to answer them. I mean, I can't answer all of them, so I'm do the best we can. Because I think the Brattle group is sort of probably looking for 3 different options. It's either we take no action and we table it till another meeting if you don't feel like you're prepared to answer the questions. The second option is we feel comfortable with the questions and we look to negotiate with them on next steps. And then sort of in line with that is they can just apply for the LIP grant with or without the select board support. Though it would behoove us to be a part of the negotiation table to see how we can benefit the town in the event that they look to apply one way or the other. That's how it's going to shake out. So.
Alan, I'm sorry.
Would it make sense to make this available, well, it is available, allow the public to digest it, you folks digest it? I assume this is the first time you've seen it?
No, we got these back 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay, well, we haven't seen it, anyway. So, and as you say, we don't have it in front of us.
Right.
Would it make sense to say, well, here it is, everybody take a look at it, and then come back to the next meeting, next week, whatever. And we'll have our questions if we have them, and so forth, and you will perhaps be more ready, perhaps you'll have engineer here, whatever expert help you think would be appropriate. But at any rate, I think that would be more informed discussion.
Yeah, I agree. This has got to be in some sort of a process that's a little more digestible. There's 36 questions and 36 answers and about 14 pages of narrative that goes along with this. And to kind of ratchet through that tonight and not have everybody with handouts or some sort of, content, subject matter content might be a stretch to get everyone to think about this. My colleagues on the board, do you have any thoughts on how to process this?
Have all the boards, the stakeholder boards, been given a presentation as to what this project actually is? I mean, I think it's only been presented, limited to the limited public through a select board meeting about 9 months ago. Personally, I think it's very important for this to actually have its own standalone public forum where the general public is invited and not just have it be presented through the select board. It's not just us that are involved and have input and impact. So I think you said in this document that you will be going to the board reviews, but there's obviously a lot of people that are interested in this and a lot of boards that should have some input, and I think they deserve to have the full presentation. I would like to see that happen before.
Yeah, it's a little more digestible. Let me ask this question. I got a bunch of people in this room, this document's available. How many people have seen the answers to this? Show of hands. Yeah, so there's still an awful lot that needs to get out there to everyone. And it's gotta be in some sort of a digestible format so that we can have an interactive, collaborative discussion on both the questions and the answers. And I'm just, seeing this, we got this a couple of weeks ago. I've read through it a couple of times myself, but it's pretty limited to just us three that's seen it. And it's probably something that we've got to get everybody to at least have an opportunity to read through this thing, make some notes, do what you want, come to a meeting and have an interactive discussion. It's just, those are my thoughts on it. I don't know, Mr. Kieran?
Yeah, so we could certainly do that. They can also just file it without us.
Well,
So
it's being presented to us as a friendly.
I know, but it doesn't have to be.
I
So
completely understand that.
And I know that made people
Part of the
very
friendly
leery.
aspect is that you work with the people that are involved. And I
Sure.
think presenting it to the people that are involved is kind of a good idea. So there may be people who really aren't even familiar with what is being proposed.
If you don't present it to affordable housing, how can they ask questions?
Correct.
But it's not just affordable housing, there are other boards too
No,
as
everybody
well.
else is involved too, but
Right.
there's a lot of questions. I mean, if you're building a project that has affordable housing, you should be presenting to the Affordable Housing Committee.
Exactly my
least-
point, yes. And the public, there's a lot of people that have
There's a lot of
questions.
people that should be able to see posted that this is gonna be discussed in several meetings.
Yeah.
And if you don't approve, you don't work cooperatively with the developer, then it cannot be called a lift. It's not a lift if it's not cooperative.
Agreed.
Jim, do you have any thoughts on on this? And what we're looking for is a way to get this.
Ultimately, it's up to the board. Through the comprehensive permit process, step one is whether or not the board and or the town is interested in engaging in such a project. So you had the submittals from, was that first meeting in March or something? If in fact the town says, sure, we do want to engage, that's not a green light for anything other than saying, okay, now you submit mass housing, the town's in parallel. And from that point, everything gets kicked back to the town to select board and CBA. And then it goes through that process of front and center for everyone. So it's a fairly timely process and it is organized. It's just, I feel as though we're trying as a town to get the same process done in advance of getting into mass housing. So I understand that the town should know and the board should know. However, that mass housing piece, I think, is pretty important as well, because you do need eligibility.
Okay. So I think I'm sorry, Dan.
To keep the process going, though, I'm not disagreeing with the strategy that you might propose. So if you've had the document for 2 weeks, why was it only posted online at 4 o'clock today?
I'm gonna tell you, it probably needed needed to be digested a little bit. We've read through this ourselves,
Okay.
so we understand it a little bit. But
Is it
typically,
not a
when,
public document for us to see in 2 weeks?
it does. It absolutely, it's a public, as soon as that document comes to us, it's a public
So
document.
why wasn't it posted?
Yeah, that, I don't have an answer to that.
Because that would have given probably everyone in this room 2 weeks to do our own digestion.
Well, I don't know, I mean, it's a list of answers to questions that were asked by the board. It's not, this doesn't show anything about what the project actually is.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But that would be a significant discussion to get going as to what those questions are and what the answers from the developer.
But I think having them posted and, you know, getting everybody together and having a handout or maybe some AV presentation may be a little more enhancing than just relying on what you've read on the town's
I'm not
website.
disagreeing with that.
We currently have the presentation that Brad provided to the board posted on the website. This is not posted on the website, but or is it now?
I put it up.
You posted,
separately.
Okay, so it's posted now, you can go view it, under, what is it, project and initiatives?
It's
on
under the
select board
meeting
page.
documents for this meeting.
Okay, and we'll post it under the Brattle Development, following this meeting, if it's not already. My apologies for not getting it up sooner for everybody.
In defense of our own select board, we had a special town meeting. We were pretty busy, so I'm not trying to discourage you from asking questions. I hear you. But we've had a pretty chaotic couple of weeks, so
Not this.
yeah, you can blame
No, it's,
us for that, so that's fine.
it's me, it's me.
Jason, is the fiscal impact study posted as well?
Yes, it is.
So
yes.
everything that you have so far. from us-
Everything you've given us is on the town website.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so our takeaway here is that we're gonna have some discussion about how best to administratively process this, Jim, so that, I mean, I think most people are here tonight to hear this, because they're probably not here for the regular selectmen's meeting. But, we're gonna figure out a way to have this in some sort of digestible format, have some AV, slide deck that we can talk to, and some handouts, and so we're gonna reschedule this to a night where it's just Brattle Development. Okay.
I mean, I think it would be helpful to have a presentation and to
Yeah.
have the applicants walk through it and be able to point at the plan and say, well, we're doing this, we're doing this. I had asked about the structures that are being proposed along the pond. People should see what that is. I just think it would be really helpful to have the visual and to have the proponents present it to people and have this be promoted as a public engagement for people, not just to whether or not the select board's going to endorse this and then we'll move it on. There are a lot of people that are interested, and I think in order for us, at least for me, I'm not going to speak for the board, but to get the buy-in from as many people as possible is going to help us make a decision to go forward.
So,
Can we discuss the date now, so there's some type of expedience to it?
yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. 1 second.
I'd suggest that, just in fairness to the developer, to everyone here and to the board, I think it would make sense, because there's a lot of ideas on how, who they should be meeting with, when they should be meeting, how they should be meeting. We should just put a process together that we want them to follow.
Right.
And who we want them to reach out to.
Yes.
And then ask them to do it. So there's a clear path for them. Because right now it is, it's great to have them here. But if we want them to communicate with the Affordable Housing Committee, we should just tell them that's part of the process to process those applications.
Shouldn't it be the boards that they're required to go to for the mass housing process? Why are we trying to be so they should go to the boards that would that are required for them to get approval.
Well, that's just the ZBA, in the board, in the select board.
Right, so then why are we trying to reinvent a process that every other town in the Commonwealth follows?
Well, it's not, I
This is
mean,
a
there
friendly
are,
process.
there are different processes
Right.
in different communities for a project like this. You have.
But we don't have a process in front of us.
No, that's what I know.
Yeah.
We're trying to
Well,
create.
that's
That's
why
what we
we're,
said we're gonna do.
I mean, I'm not, that's why we may not be making as much progress here as we maybe would have. But that, I guess that's my point. We don't have to do that. My suggestion is that we do it, because I think if we have a clear, we should make it clear what the path is that we would like the developer to go. And the developer may say, I don't want to do that, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing forcing them to.
Mhm.
But I think in this document, they are, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you already say you're willing to do a public meeting.
Of course we
Yeah.
are, but that's engaged even after, so, just so you know, the law states that if you decide, hey, okay, we're gonna support this, and then you decide, we're out, we don't wanna support it anymore, you don't have to. It's that simple, town doesn't have to support it all the way down the road, if they say, hey, wait a minute. You know.
And that doesn't stop the project from going forward. It just means the town doesn't support it anymore.
Correct.
So it would make more sense to have
Oh,
people
1 second.
sort of get a better understanding of what the project actually is and what the impact actually is gonna be. And what,
And all that data, everything's there, so we just have to figure out how you want it delivered. Because we've submitted it, you have it.
Yep. Look, if the process is, let's have a meeting in front of the Board of Selectmen, let's promote it as a public meeting, let's get all the feedback, I mean, if it's simply that, that's fine. But like, let's just make it clear and then move forward with it, I guess, is my only point.
Ma'am?
I have one comment. I think we should also look at historically what other developers have come into town and what process they've had to go through and just to see, you know, as you're saying, maybe we don't have a process, but I think just making it fair, because there's been certainly other developments in town where developers have come in to do entire neighborhoods. And so I just think we should look at what they had to kind of jump through and maybe.
it's a very different process being a 40B
Right.
versus a
Oh, okay.
convention.
I didn't know.
Yeah, this is,
40B housing is different because it goes through the ZBA as opposed to the planning board. Planning board does most of the comprehensive permits, but the zoning board of appeals does 40Bs.
Alan?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the planning board does have a process put together by Cheryl Mann a few years ago, and we just went through that process a few days ago with the River Street proposal, 11 house subdivision. And the interested boards such as Highway and so forth were there. We, as a town, found that, and it's all laid out, Cheryl, you know, do this, and like this. And it makes it much more time effective, much more information effective. The town engineer was there, et cetera. Now, absolutely, 40B is a different ballgame, and this is a much bigger project proposed. However, the idea of having a way to do it, the process, absolutely. This is the town's first one, so not surprising that there's no process, so one should be created. And the interested boards and the public need to be involved, and good presentation, as Jimmy knows, is always helpful. You can't have too much information too soon.
okay.
Amen.
The other thing we could do is, it's actually not the first one, we just went through, I mean, it was for a town-owned
Yeah.
parcel, but we just the town and the board just approved the submittal of a LIP application for the Mud District project.
Do you have that in front of all the
And,
boards?
well, that's where I'm going, like, there was a process they followed, and if you want to follow a set, now, it's different, it is different, because it was town-controlled property, and the town was able to have control and to shape the development, based on what it desired to see on the property, so that it's different, but it's the same, fundamentally, it's the same process, it's a LIP process. So that could help inform the process for this as well. It's up to the board.
So what we're gonna do, Jim, is we're gonna communicate to you how we're gonna handle this going forward. And to answer your question, it's our intention to do this as soon as possible. It's an ambiguous term. What does that more specifically mean? A couple weeks. I think that's the action plan here. We've got to come up with a management approach to this, communicate that to the developer and his team, and sit here and ratchet through this, and it would be its own meeting. So, and everybody will have an opportunity to have handouts and some audio visual and have an interactive discussion.
How will we find out when the meeting is?
All of our meetings are online, and that's how that information gets communicated. I think some of it goes out on
Can you
Facebook.
sign it out front like you did for the special town meeting?
If it's a public meeting.
I love putting letters on that sign.
But everybody sees it, and it's so helpful, isn't it? Everybody who drives by, oh.
Are we talking about the sandwich board out
I
here?
love that sandwich board, I don't care.
A
So
lot of people do,
I love it.
a lot of people do.
So the one thing that
Sometimes.
monitoring the town website and the calendar is one way to know when their meetings are being posted. You just get into the habit of checking it to see if that's a meeting you're interested
I
in.
think if 5 o'clock and that goes on at 4 o'clock, there's no way. He said that you've read it how many times in the last 2 weeks? Could we realize what it all said? If we got it at 4 o'clock and had to be here for 5, how are we gonna read through that?
Yeah, we don't, oh, believe me, I hear you, I understand.
No.
I do.
No, but when the meeting is actually, it has to be posted 48 hours before the meeting, so.
48 hours, okay.
So you do, I mean, you do need to look at that website and get that information off of it. There's, the direct mailings are typically not something that we do on a regular basis. They cost us a lot of money. But you do need, and we'll have Sue, because Sue likes the sandwich board, we'll put that sandwich board up front, and we'll post it in some fashion so that people drive by do have an opportunity to see that. And we'll get documents here copied and handouts and stuff, and just take it in that approach. Anybody with any other questions, thoughts? Cool. We keep your eye posted. I mean, it's a short week this week with Thanksgiving, but certainly by midweek next week, that date is going to be posted as to when this is going to be, and it will be soon. I'm thinking it's a couple weeks out.
Well, when would our next actual meeting be December 5th, right? Or Jason, are we
5th or the
changing?
7th.
We have
Second,
nothing scheduled
seventh.
for the
Yeah, it's a 7th.
Seventh.
Okay,
Because
so
we
we're
have,
changing to Thursdays as of December.
If we
Right.
can.
Okay.
That was the
It's
plan.
like, we have like a tax hearing.
We have the
Taxing's on the 7th.
Yeah.
tax classification hearing.
So this
Yeah.
meeting would, in round numbers, this meeting might occur on the 14th,
You can,
roughly.
say
What?
that again?
It might, I'm thinking that we post it up for the 14th, final development.
That work?
Thursday, the 14th.
Yeah,
Or for everyone?
what? Is that a bad thing for you?
Yeah,
You growling?
I'm growling, yes, I have a conflict there. I don't want it to stop the motion of this.
Okay, so are you good with this, the 14th? Or do you want to do on the 12th?
The 12th would be better for me.
Karen, how about you?
12th is better.
You can't.
I'll make it work.
Okay? So to answer your question,
Clear,
it's going to be the 12th.
are you going to suggest to all of your boards that they show up on the 12th?
We can communicate that to them, sure, absolutely.
Does that mean we should move it to smaller Union because your room's gonna be exploding with people?
We had 150 people in Hamlet.
We
Not too long
did.
ago. We'll be all right.
We had 150
As long as the
in
stage
there,
is in
so.
here.
It'll be gone by.
Yeah, what's the expectation? So like, I mean, really, we have to figure, really, we determine that now because this is our meeting and the next meeting, I can't make the 7th, so, I'm not around that night. I'm at the PTO, taking questions from them that night. So like, will you share with us the process we followed for MCO, which I roughly remember, in terms of how, because apples to apples here, like, it's a similar concept in terms of an affordable housing project. And to her point, like, though it's a privately funded project, we have to treat like ideas in a like way. So rather than try to reinvent the wheel, let's use our best practice we did already and follow a similar pattern. But then we should be crystal clear in terms of what the expectations and the outcome of that meeting will be.
We will. Well, that will be.
Because there's really only 3, again, it's the 3 options I said before that are the outcome.
Okay.
Or else we're just wasting their time and their money.
Yeah.
Wasting our time and the townspeople's money and effort to show up to these meetings when you don't really have the eye on the ball here.
You get paid.
I'm sorry, what, John?
Public goodwill. My heart is full. You know I don't.
Kenny?
Just to be clear, when was this first submitted? Because it sounds like some people that may not know, I think it was submitted maybe 2 weeks ago. But I think it was submitted like 7 months ago. Right?
Well, I wouldn't say submitted.
That I submitted back that they had asked for back in the spring, and they just received them. So,
They came before us in the spring, early spring, and gave a presentation on the project. That's the only submittal.
Right.
There's been no application, there's been nothing put before us. I don't think there is, but.
No, there is not. That meeting that happened back in the spring left us with these questions that Brattle had to answer. It's the answers to those questions that we got a couple of weeks ago. And there's a lot of content to it. Joan?
So the plan is to have another meeting, and have, these guys go through the questions and maybe have some visuals so people can, can relate to the questions to, what they were posing, that sort of thing.
That's the idea.
Okay,
This would
What's
have,
stopping them from just doing that, as you were saying?
Nothing. Other than they identify as saying they prefer to have the support of the select board and we would represent the public, because that would make it a friendly, and the application would be much more well-received by the state and mass housing with the support of a select board, just like it was for the affordable housing complex behind the post office that was recently approved. They don't have to do that, and they could do, a developer they could build a house that's purple. We can't stop them from building a purple house.
I think part of that question for you here too is the fact that we're trying to give back in one way, shape or form, some acreage with that commercial building. And it only seems prudent to do that in this fashion.
So what do you mean by give back?
So the concept that Marchish meeting was they would return the garage, the blue garage that's there, to the town.
Return, the town never owned that.
Or, give to the town. It's sort of in lieu of support of the project. That's what would make it a friendly project. So the town would get a garage out of it that we desperately need. And we would support said project from the select.
And do you have a plan for like septic, the water and all that?
That doesn't come now.
Not
The
right.
water's town water.
Yeah, it's town, they'd hook up the town water. And then it'd be a sewer treatment plant that would be approved by the ZBA through the mass housing process.
I think Board of Health has hand in that too.
They do.
Board of Health would have to review that.
Mass DEP.
It goes directly to Mass DEP.
Yeah, that's it, and that's a process.
It jumps the local board to the state board.
Well, right, that's the other thing with the 40B project is any local bylaws are not considered in the project.
Is the whole thing 40 feet?
25% of it. 40.
So 25%.
25%?
25% is affordable, and in a 40B.
Based on the guidelines that the Mass Commonwealth has in place for similar
So the
projects.
whole thing is approved, even though only 25% is, so they do whatever they want because they have 25% is affordable housing.
Is the town using those garages now?
We are not.
So what's the town using now?
I'm sorry, say it again?
What's the town using now?
We use all the garages that we've had for the last umpteen years. Highway garage is down on the other, and the fire station, there's some consideration about moving fire trucks into that garage and consolidating with DPW. And so there's a lot of possibility with that garage. It opens up a lot of opportunities for us. So that's when you hear that use of the garage, that's where that's pointed at right now.
Will there be affordable housing in the complex?
I'm sorry, who's
Will
that?
there be affordable housing?
Well, the whole project's 55 and over.
Is 55 and over mean everybody has to be 55 and over, or just one member?
It will be restricted, and I think it's, I don't know exactly how that law is written.
It varies from project to project, so like.
However the law is written, however, we will make sure that the entire project is 55, because there are, in the state 40B law, there's some wiggle room with what percentage, and we already overcame that with that last meeting, so.
Standard 40B, if it's 55 and older, 80% of the units a minimum of 80% have to be 55 and older.
So does that mean just one?
The remaining amount don't have to be. So if you had,
So like my husband and I can move there with our 3 kids because we're 55 and older. and
That's
still
right.
in the school system.
You
one,
would.
right.
That's
So
true.
I believe one person,
Only one
owner of the
person
unit has to be 55.
Right. So
But-
we could potentially have more influx of children into the school system, even though it's 55 and older.
Correct.
What sort of impact would it be for the fire department, police department, with the size of the project?
No, I'm sorry, say that again?
What impact would it be for the fire department and police department, because no having the size of what you're talking about, construction wise?
I don't know if they,
Well, you guys have done a public safety, they've done a public safety evaluation based on the number. It's not here, but we do, that information is available.
I make a comment just to.
Absolutely.
Having the 55 and over, I saw a lot of real estate 55 and over projects, and Karen understands this also. Very, very rare that you see, children, multiple children on 55 plus. I'm telling you right now, 48 units in New Hampshire, right now it's 100% just 2 people. That's typical, you may get maybe a couple families, but it's not a big school impact like a regular, cul-de-sac and all.
well, the importance of it being 100% 55 and older is crucial to me, because if they were only to propose it at the 80% and the number of units that they're proposing, that would leave approximately like 30 units that are not age restricted at all, which would be potentially a significant amount of children coming out. So that is something that I really hope holds going forward, is that 100%.
I think that's something we get to negotiate.
Ma'am?
The reason why I say it's right is there's a lot of us who move to this town and leave when our children leave the school district. And it's not any other fault when we have nowhere else to go. So an over 55 project makes sense to go out home and that's this age and get out of the big houses. We're fortunate that we have some of these big homes and we have our kids here, but to stay here, I can't stay in home. part of my retirement. So something like this creates people like myself, which are a lot of people.
Yep.
Be able to stay here, be part of the town, and continue to retire and be here. And I just think that 55 is so necessary.
Is unnecessary or
It's so
necessary?
It is
Oh, so
unnecessary.
necessary.
Very, very
Okay.
necessary. Absolutely, I agree with that. I was just worried about the children aspect and impact on the school system.
Okay, so for those that are here tonight that want to get into this, the documents, the answers and questions are published. There's 36 of them. It does take some time to go through it. And we're going to plan to meet on the 12th, right? We're all here on the 12th?
What time will the meeting?
And Jason, you have my cell phone number, so if people have questions, they can call.
What time do we want to start on the 12th? We'll start at 5 or 6?
I don't care.
5.
It's hard for a lot of people.
That's the issue with it.
6 then?
So we'll start at 6.
Bring your dinner. Could be a fun one. Yeah, usually I eat dinner here, so that's fine.
Okay.
Probably
Yeah,
here.
yes. Yeah. The school is a great idea, but it has some baggage associated with it. We don't, custodial staff's gotta be in there, and the chairs gotta get set up, and, we did have a meeting here, and there were 150 people in this room. And it accommodated it really well, and hopefully maybe that stage will be gone, and we'll be back there, and there'll be some more seating here, so. Kenny?
Anyone from the water department here? Because,
I don't think so.
I mean, what timing for that, right, to add to the water? We've been talking about this for how many years?
Yeah, no, it's a huge plus to have that, because it takes and amortizes that loan, that value of that water tank and all the infrastructure improvements, now amortizes it over a larger number of ratepayers, so that people, I think some people in this room now are understand that they're getting $5,000 a year water bills. So this will help that.
I'm starting to hear solutions from 2 weeks ago where we were trying to come up with, is it commercial? There's never gonna be, I agree with Joan, there's never gonna be enough commercial, interest in this town to make a difference in the tax base. There's only one way we get taxes is from property. So,
Yep.
So far, I'm hearing nothing but good economics with this town.
I think we have like a top 5 highest rate for water, and I have a well, but that's like Ron said, that bill, you hit with a $5,000 water bill, it's tough.
You're okay with that if you live in Medford and you have a water and sewer bill for 10 grand, which some of us know all about, right? All right, so that's it for that. Watch the town's website, please, and for the folks that are here tonight, in the event that you need something or something you want to get answered, we are all available to have that discussion with you. Do not wait for the meeting. Reach out. There's a select board email address. We get questions on that all the time, not specifically about this project, but we get questions every week from someone that's asking us something. Use that as your venue to communicate with us, and don't go home tonight saying, well, I can't get my question answered until 12. Get the stuff out there, because I write back on those, and I do make an effort that everybody gets written back the same day, but sometimes it's the next day, but we do get you an answer. And there's a lot of fluency with that, so please feel free, if you're here tonight and you have questions or you want to get something resolved, please feel free to reach out to us. That's what we're here for.
And also, if you haven't, go to the town website, sign up for the e-alerts, and you can check off the boxes to get agendas, meeting minutes, announcements from as many or as few boards as you want. It's right on the homepage. It said subscribe to e-alerts, and you will be as little or as heavily inundated with info.
Okay.
It's all good info.
It's all good fit.
And the FAQs are posted with the other documents, travel documents on the website.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
If you go on the website and you go to the Board of Selectmen, you'll see projects. The FAQs are now uploaded with the other 2 docs that Jim sent over.
All right. we're gonna move on with our meeting now.
Are there people that want to leave?
Is anybody that wants to leave because you're bored or the chair hurts, this is the time to do that.
I'd rather ask rather than.
Ready to go on here, guys?
Yep.
So item number 9 is the Economic Development Committee and Land Use Committee. Jason, do you want to talk through that first? As to what your thoughts are with that?
Sure, so, this item was a result of meeting on Friday. Let's see, sorry, I'm just pulling the. So the creation of an economic development committee was a recommendation that was included in the master plan. I pulled together the composition, purpose, and responsibilities based on what was in the master plan. It's pretty much, copy and paste. The only difference, I guess the only thing that I created was the composition, so that if you want anything different than that.
Honestly, I think it would be important to have someone from conservation on there. If not this one, at least the land use one.
Okay.
But if we end up combining that,
So like a mandated seat?
well, are any of these mandated?
Well, it's just
Yeah, no,
I would
it's the
just include it.
competition.
I
Include
would
conservation in that.
Included in that list.
Yeah, yep,
I mean,
yeah.
there are rules and laws and bylaws that would need to be pointed out that may limit what can be done on certain places, or even parcels to even consider, so.
I like the size. I think 7's probably the right number, and I know if it doesn't shake out, we don't have 7 volunteers, we can always react accordingly.
Yep.
But I know it's based on our school, like that really 150 person meeting, it seemed like a lot of folks are interested in this.
Yeah.
I think just sort of, we're striking while it's hot. Let's take advantage of people's energy and see what they have to say and bring them forward. So it sort of lines up with the master plan, sort of implementation committee more than anything else. So.
Yeah.
Jim, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just curious what the goal is with that.
So I've been sort of a leader in the clubhouse on this one, so I'll fall on the sword. Ideally, I think it's to look at the town, and if it's, taking another look at the town center overlay, and if we're striking the right chord there for little, farmhousey type businesses, not like the farmhouse restaurant, but like the one that we recently flexed for to help create more, bookstores or, stone shops, whatever it might be, and sort of evaluating the way the town could invite in local businesses that are here already, like a little honey shop, something like that. Things that people, I think, identify Dunstable as a right to farm agricultural community, and looking at ways to maybe create some storefronts within certain areas to do that. It'll never be a huge tax base, but it'll just help bring more character to the town rather than anything else, so.
What's the land use piece?
Land use is a different committee that we're also thinking about creating.
I'm wondering if these don't overlap so much, because I don't think it's gonna take a lot of time to review the land use to say, hey, this is feasible, this is not. I don't think there's a lot that's gonna. I would recommend to be a component of this.
Well, I think the land use, my hope is that we can utilize NIMCOG some more and have them come and share with that group some best practices, some education in terms of what a conservation restriction is and what it means, and what the solar overlay may mean to certain parcels and things like that, in terms of how different folks are looking at land and how we can use it. 'Cause I don't know if we're using it effectively. You know, is it purely just hiking, or could we create some type of a venue for music or something like that? I mean, right, we have some opportunity here to meet with people from different backgrounds that, especially with the NIMCOG component and their expertise, could really help build something new that we haven't thought of. So I think, and I don't know the longevity of a land use committee, because at some point we may run out of ideas.
I think it's gonna be a short-lived endeavor.
Yeah, but why not try it? Like, what do we got to lose?
Right,
Yeah, I suppose, so.
right.
So, I mean, my hope with NEMCOG is if the board at some point considers to reactivate the master plan committee and kind of redefine it into an implementation committee. My hope, their deadline is the 30th for technical assistance grant applications, and so project ideas. So if we can utilize their planning expertise to help us with kind of all this, you know, the master plan implementation, which, as you know, has like 6 or 7 pages worth of recommendations.
Yeah.
Working now to prioritize those, then help both the Economic Development Committee and if you have 2 separate committees, if that's what the board does, kind of work with that, all of the above approach to help provide some technical assistance in planning, zoning, conservation, et cetera, with the relevant boards and committees in town. So that's what I'm hoping. I've had informal conversations with them. They seemed interested and willing to provide that, so.
Yeah, for sure. Is that November 30th?
Yeah.
Yeah, right around the corner.
Yeah. Well, the master plan does state that there is supposed to be a implementation committee. And there's a recommendation that there be an economic development committee.
Correct.
So this fulfills that.
Right, so, I mean, part of this has come up, and a lot of people have been asking about, you know, what is the town doing to create more revenue rather than raising taxes? Can we bring in more business? Can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do that? So this has sort of brought us back to looking at our master plan again and sort of starting to check off the boxes and update what has been done, stuff that may just not be feasible anymore, stuff that maybe not be of interest, and then trying to, again, a little late to the game, but put that implementation committee together and follow some of them. So this is where this is stemming from.
So do we have a motion?
To what? Approve both of these?
Yeah. I'll move to approve the creation of an economic development committee as well as a land use committee as proposed.
Second? Do we have a second?
A second, and I would like that conservation added to both committees.
Yes.
Well, I think we're gonna do outreach for this, right? And see what we get for people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is just blast it out to the world.
Yeah, just like we did with the
Absolutely.
rehab small union project, so.
Correct. Yep.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. All right,
Okay.
3 sets of minutes. I move we approve all 3 sets.
Second, they look good.
All in favor? Aye.
So Ron, just really quick, for one of the minutes,
Oh, sorry, yes.
there was a motion that it wasn't a recorded meeting, but it was a motion for the IMA,
There's the PFAS IMA.
and you had written it down.
Remember we added, the 2 conditions on the approval, which was bringing the customers Dunstable and Fletcher. And, now I'm blanking on the second.
I know.
But there definitely was a second
We
condition.
it was like bring the Dunstable residents back, and then it was something to do with the street composition, right? Jersey, was that?
Do you have it in your notebook? So I'd like to amend my motion on accepting the minutes.
Just give me a second. Figure it out.
What day?
It was the October 19th.
Yeah. And that change is gonna reflect to what? PFAS discussion
Yes.
and the content of the change?
We need to adjust the motion
You made
because
the
I didn't
motion.
capture it.
That's not the right notebook.
All right, let's,
All right, we'll follow up on that. But the other ones were approved, right?
So are we gonna approve all except Thursday, October 19th meeting minutes?
Yes.
Got some pullback.
So I
Table.
rescind my motion to approve all 3 sets of minutes, and I move to accept.
oh, it was the, sorry, I know, I'm sorry. It was the fees it was the connection fees for those who
Oh,
are,
right,
who
right.
had contaminated wells.
Right.
Yes, that was the other.
Zero out the fee.
They would waive
So
the connection
no,
fee.
no connection fees for those who have PFAS contamination wells and the other connections that I said before.
The town,
Yes, bringing Dunstable customers back to Dunstable. That was the one.
okay, so I amend my motion to
Sorry.
accept the 3 sets of minutes with that correction to the October 19th set that has what Jason said, the connection fee being waived for affected houses and the residents being, yeah.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, that's a wrap. You have a motion to adjourn?
So
Yeah, that was the one, and you.
we're gonna put like a blast out through all our different vehicles. And we'll look for volunteers, hopefully get enough people, and then likely invite them to a meeting. Just tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of, I like economics and I live in Dunstable.
Ideally, we want to fill these committees with people who are new to the process, different pair of eyes. It's just, a lot of people feel that they can't get on these boards because they're full, and that's not our intention here, is to do a sweep. And if people are out there that understand and can participate in these things in truly a meaningful way, other than just have chit chat, because these aren't chit chat meetings, it's gotta be a substance to this. There's gotta be an end to it that says this is a path forward, and that path is something that's gonna be created by the people that are on that committee. So, we're gonna do an outreach, and Leah and Karen have said, and Jason, it'll be blasted out, and, let's put it together and make it work.
We'd love to have that.
Absolutely.
We
Okay,
had a motion to adjourn.
second,
Yeah, second.
all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
So, Miss Sue, I like